All right. So, if you want to start with just telling us a little bit about yourself, Alexis.
Sure. My name is Alexis, and I'm a transformational wellness coach. What I do is I help people to unlock their potential, but make peace with their broken pieces, to get rid of the dysfunctional patterns that hold them back from achieving and unearthing their full potential. So I work as a health and life coach in conjunction with the International Coaching Federation. And it is a privilege to be able to do so. How about for you?
That's awesome.
What is your journey? Thank
So,
you.
well, I am in the middle of my journey, and I
Okay.
I don't know if I feel like I'm a student of life, so I always feel like I'm on this
Mm,
continuous path of a journey. But I am currently in school to become a health and life coach. I am, yes, I'm excited about that. I am a confidence coach. I
okay.
I have been told that is my superpower, and I believe
I
that to
can see
be
that.
true. So
Mhm.
I am looking to work with individuals in the wellness space. I am a certified personal trainer, and I have been in the fitness field for about 13 years. So I'm looking at how to connect those dots within
Mm,
fitness and wellness, and how we can create a mind state and mindset around it that we can bring in meditation and
mm.
have a healthy relationship with food. And how does that look in a bigger picture when we look outside of what we look like and on the outside, but also what we look like on the inside?
That's beautiful. And I think that's what society needs right now is that with all this going on, the viruses and people staying at home and feeling isolated, if we're going to be honest, a lot of times we're gaining weight because we're emotionally eating out of desperation and out of the fact that we don't have control of our environment. And so it makes sense that you would move in that direction. And I can definitely see the confidence as we've interacted. So I appreciate you sharing that. So what brought you to specifically to get into coaching?
So that's why I say I'm a student of life. It's funny, like my story precedes me even thinking about health and life coaching.
Mm,
Um, there was a when I first entered the fitness space, I think I don't know if health coaching was just becoming um included in that, but there was a person um, that was in my field that approached me about becoming a health and life coach. And for me at that time, I just wasn't interested. Like we went through a training, and I was like, "What do you mean?" I just answer them questions, and they give me the answers. Like I don't want to do that. I want to be there. I want to tell them what to do. I wasn't willing to be somebody's guide at that time.
mm,
So it was just a journey where I kept going forward, but that kept presenting itself. So
mm,
as I moved on in my career, I would do like I would seek out these sessions to go to these um, places that were around health coaching or life coaching, like motivational interviewing. And I would get commended of how well I interacted in these classes and why didn't I add this to my like tools. And I was like, I still don't want to do it. Like I am very heavy in the fitness space. Like this is what I
right.
know, this is what I'm comfortable with. And I think that's has a lot to do with it. Like after you spend so much time in your field, you're like, I'm comfortable where I am. I'm decent
Right.
at what I'm doing. So why would I add something else to that? Why would I start in another direction? That's what I thought about it until finally figured it out where somebody was like, Aaliyah, you will always be my health and life coach. And I was like, what?
Mm,
And I was
mm,
like, well, maybe I don't have to start over. Maybe I can just interconnect to what I'm doing. And when I saw that bigger, brighter picture, like, well, we're just in the health. industry looking at the physical body, how can I add health and life coaching? Because it's all interconnected. When I talk to my clients, we're talking about other things other than squats and bench pressing. We're talking
Exactly.
about kids, we're talking about husbands, we're talking
Right.
about school, we're talking about everything in the realm. And I'm like, so why wouldn't I just get certified in this to be able to help them along with their physical journey?
That's amazing. And what I hear you say is you answered the call to reach your higher self. Sometimes we're on this journey and we're running from our purpose that is already innate inside of us. And it seems like before it was knocking and knocking, but now it crashed and you heard it and you started to perceive, like you said, you're becoming, you're evolving and extending yourself to humanity is what I hear. That's so
Hmm.
deep. It
Hmm.
kind of makes me think of my journey. I was always told I worked in the school system for about 10 years. I trained teachers on restorative justice. And I would just meet with people all the time and they say, you should be a coach, you should be a coach. And like you, I was like, that's a lot of work. I'm okay with just, let's talk,
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but then I think 2019, 2018 and 2019, I had a sister who has schizophrenia who I was taking care of. And I almost felt like I was losing control because I couldn't help her, and
Hmm.
it was messing with me. Then I had a major breakup. Thought I was close to marriage, and that fell apart. Um, Years of close friendships were falling apart. It just seemed like everything was falling apart. And I had two things that I could do. I could sink, or I could create something out of nothing. And so I sang for a little while. And then I began to do the work on myself. I actually had a coach coach me and to get me where I needed to be. And as I'm interacting and as I'm becoming a part of this process, which my name of my company is I Am Becoming, I saw myself evolve and grow. And all the broken pieces, I started to dismantle the limiting beliefs, the things that held me hostage, the sabotaging behavior, of just, sabotaging myself when I saw greatness. And spiritually, I was being called higher, in my religion. So all these different components were almost like I feel like God was preparing me to do this work, and yet I was running from, like I said earlier, the assignment. But all the while, when I felt broken and hidden like a diamond, He was doing the work to craft me so that I could serve as a servant leader to others. So through my journey of just mental illness, abuse, just name it all. There's a transformational process that a butterfly will go through, and that's what I was going through. And I was coming out of the cocoon, and I still am coming out of the cocoon as I coach others. So this is a process, and I want to invite people to dig and become empowered to, become limitless, and that's my journey. And so we're in the same boat. So with you being in the fitness arena, and I'm sure I don't know if you work specifically with women or you work with all individuals. Um, what do you find when it comes to weight loss and the esteem that goes into a person that you're working with overcoming that?
So I work in a community setting, so I work with all different people from all different backgrounds. Even if I just go back, before my community setting, I was in corporate fitness. So in that time, I worked with a lot of either law enforcement officers or people who were trying to come into the field as law enforcement officers. But at the same time, we worked with a lot of the administration. So just admin, people who basically sat for a lot of their job. And when they came to me, it was like, I'm here for a goal, like either to increase their chances of getting into whatever academy they were going into, because I worked at two different justice agencies. And then either they just wanted to lose weight. And so I have always been in this state of mind as weight loss is a benefit of working out. But what is the real goal? What is your true purpose? Why are you here? Because if it's just to lose weight, you're going to stop as soon as you can, because that's
Mm,
not, it's not tethered to anything but a number. And when
exactly.
we don't get that number, we tend to quit. And I was seeing that early on with a lot of my clients. Um, and when they began to actually create relationships centered around the gym, they actually kind of tied in, oh, this is a place that I can come and find community, as well as the benefits centered around weight loss. So when people come and that is their first thing, I go through this whole like big spiel. And I still let them have what they want, like, because I don't ever want to tell a client, like, if they're coming to me from weight loss, like, I don't do weight loss. That's not what I'm doing. I just ask them to have their minds open to further possibilities and letting weight loss be one of the benefits that they're going to get from it. But I also do my little, like, oh, the scale's not important. Just ignore what the scale is saying, because numbers are just uh it's just something that, somebody made up a list a long time ago and said you should fit into this box. And I use this example all the time, like, well, I weigh 160 pounds. And they're like, no, you don't. And I'm like, but I do, but it doesn't look like
Mhm.
what you think it is, because I'm also 5'8" and I'm more muscular. So if we have this stigma attached to a number
Mm.
and it doesn't really look like that, how do we separate the two? So I say,
Mm.
let's look at how we're feeling. Let's look at how our clothes are fitting. Let's look at how much can we do something better than we did before when we walked into the door the first time. And I like to look at elements like, you know, how are your knees feeling? How are your joints feeling? How is your back feeling? How are those things feeling? And add them to that. So we'll do like a number on a scale. We'll do measurements, but at the same time, along that journey, I want them to lose the importance of what the scale
Mhm.
says and what the tape measure says, but more of like, oh, because I'll get those epiphany moments, which I love. They're my
Mhm.
favorite. They're like, "Oh my goodness, like, I still weigh the same, but my pants won't stay up." And I'm like, "Yes."
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
the number's not that important as we think. So
Right.
it's a fun journey to experience with a client. Do you see any of that within your clients that you're working with?
Certainly. When I just worked with a client the other day, and as we were meeting, I kept hearing, "I love the keto diet. I love the keto diet. This is what I need to be doing." And I center around the 360, the mind and the body. And so I said, let's back up for a second. Is it that why are you focused on the keto diet? And she said, well, my cousin said and my sister said that when I was on keto, that's when I was losing weight. I said, let's back up. Where were you in life during that time? Think about it. She paused. She said, you know what? We had just gotten a house. There was no stress, no real debt. I hadn't had a baby yet. And so I said, let's step back. So the time period where you were enjoying life, which in turn made your life healthy, which in turn allow you to lose the weight freely. So when we associate a diet with with a, I guess, an outcome, then it's not sustainable, because every time we don't meet the mark, we're still beating ourselves up. But it's when
Mhm.
we understand that it's not just about the diet, but where we are in life, that we can move forward and continue sustainable change. And once she understood that, we stepped away from the word diet and started to look at health as a lifestyle that would be sustainable for her evolution and her change in the long run. So I'm like you. So we do get on the scale before we actually train, but for the next week and a half or 2 weeks, we won't look at the scale, because I want her to live in her body and actually feel what it feels like as she looks at her clothes, as she looks at her body. And what we did is, as she worked out, we went into a huge mirror. And every time I made her get down and work hard, we got back up and I told her to say, what do you love about your stomach as you're talking about it? What do you love about your arms as you're talking about it? What do you love? Because before we can even get to the weight loss, we got to be able to understand our body and how it's magnificently made to do its job if we allow it to be honored. And so I feel like I'm on the same page as you, that we have to get people to start looking at honoring themselves as they are without the scale doing the work for them, without it defining who they are.
I
So
really
that's that's
I
beautiful.
really love that piece before you add on.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, just because it's centered around that self-confidence, and I
Yep.
believe that is such a big part of it. I have a client that I'm just starting to work with, and one of her goals is to for weight loss, and then another goal is to be confident. And I
Mm.
said, we don't want to put those together. We want to keep those as separate goals because she wanted to add them. And I said, but they're two separate things because
Exactly.
you may lose the weight, but you may gain it back. But I want you to
Mm.
be confident if you do gain it back. Once you get that confidence, it's not tethered to how you're actually looking when you feel your best. It's how you look every day. Even when I feel my worst, I still am confident about I'm the baddest out there because
Right,
it is
right,
a mindset for me.
right,
It's
right.
not how curly my hair is. And I actually I have 3 kids. But I think it's so important for little girls. And so I have 2 little girls, and we do that in our house. So actually, my daughter was talking about cutting her hair because they cut their hair, and she was like, "Well, I didn't want to cut my hair off because I wouldn't be pretty." And my husband said something that was so remarkable and said, "Well, your hair doesn't make you pretty. Your hair doesn't define you. You'll be
Mm,
pretty if your hair is long or if it's short
mm,
because you are pretty." And so
mm.
it's something that just we need to gain momentum on that. Like no matter what our size is, no matter what clothes we have on, we are human, we are worthy, and we are, the baddest out of the bunch
Yep.
because that is what we are.
Boom. I guess you hit it. And that's really what it is. I see you. I'm feeling the energy. And that's that's really it. And I admire your husband for starting that process, right? But I often wonder what happens when people don't grow up with that. And the thing that they grow up with is
Mm,
the frame of them not being enough. So as they move through life, they're up and down with their body weight because their very origin has made them question themselves. So what would you say to a person who maybe they didn't grow up like your baby girl, where they didn't have that, but they're in this place of transforming their limiting beliefs around that?
It's funny because I didn't grow up like my baby girl did.
Oh wow.
I grew up in a just surrounded where I didn't feel like I fit in.
Mm,
I felt that I was too skinny.
mm-hmm.
Um, I was ugly because I was too skinny.
Right.
I didn't look like everyone in my neighborhood. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't talk like everyone in my neighborhood. And I grew up in a predominantly Black neighborhood. So you're talking about a Black girl who grew up around people who looked like her, but she still didn't feel like she belonged. And
Mm,
so it was a journey for me to accept how Black I was, but also accept that no matter how skinny I was or how thin I was, that I still was beautiful inside and out. And there was
mm,
nothing wrong with me
right.
ever.
Mm-hmm.
And how did I connect those pieces? So I just started to rewrite the story of my childhood.
Mm,
It wasn't
mm,
about them picking on me. It was, oh, something wasn't sitting right with them. And I had to separate that story. And for a long time, it was hard because I was like, oh, well, I'm just placing the blame elsewhere. But in reality, I wasn't the unhappy person. They were making
right.
me unhappy, but I wasn't
Oh,
unhappy. So it
right.
was finding those things that centered me and enjoying those things and just looking at it in the face of I'm gonna be okay, even if that person doesn't agree with me. I'm gonna be okay, even if that person doesn't have the same background as me. I'm just going to be okay because I want to be okay. And so when I
Mm.
started talking to myself that way, it just changed my whole world. And that's what I say to people who are looking for others to give them validation. That's not going to make you a happy person. You have to look within to tell you yourself, how are you going to be a happier person? You have those words, you have those aspirations, you have those dreams, you have those goals. We as coaches are just there to guide you to that finish line. And I feel like that is one of the principles of why I decided to be a coach, is because I had no right to tell people what they needed at that time. I thought I did because that is kind of what we're taught in society. But as I grew as a person, I realized that that was not my place. So, what are some of the values that you hold in your coaching?
Some of the values I hold are to honor yourself from where you are. Um, we are always future focused and looking at the future, but if we don't honor ourselves for where we are and what we've come out of, we'll always be looking outside of ourselves. And I think you hit a point about the value of looking at yourself to gain that confidence and that happiness. I believe that it's deeper because I believe that we have to just be intentional about learning about joy. Joy is an inside job, whereas happiness is external to joy. It's this
Mhm,
thing will make me happy if I have. Joy is I have this inward innate ability to be content with where I am, knowing that I have a purpose to go forward. And just like you said, that's one of my values. I would say also consistency. I think it doesn't matter how much you don't do or do. If you do 5 sit-ups a night, silly as it seems, 5 sit-ups will get you to the 10 and it will get you to the
mhm,
40 and to the 60. But it's about consistency because Rome wasn't built in a day, right?
mhm,
So it would be the building blocks. And I guess I resonate with you because I've always been on the smaller side and outside of our culture because I have Caucasian grandparent, and then I have these different variety of multicultural diversity in my family. And so when I would go to jobs or different things, people outside my race would be like, "You're too small," and I would think, what is wrong? You know what I mean? Like, why am I too small? And it would mostly be outside of my race because it was like, I guess the portrayal is a woman of color would be a little more thicker, right?
mhm,
And so even down to my father would be like, are you going to eat something? And I was eating and I couldn't gain. And so I feel like maybe I don't know specifically what it means to lose weight, like in a way that I'm battling with that, but I do understand what it means to gain. And whether you're losing or gaining, the confidence that comes with losing and gaining, especially when you're losing weight when you're stressed, can really play with your securities. So I had a battle with, like you said, the enmeshment of people's thoughts in my mind and recognize that I was okay the way I was, and that some people's scars show on the inside, but mine was showing up on the outside, and I came to do the work. And so that's really what I would say is my value would be to honor yourself where you are, your consistency, and then you're never going to be motivated sometimes. So you have to make a decision to say, what is it that 10 years down the road, 5 years down the road, tomorrow, what is this going to mean for me to do this work on myself? And on the other side of that, I'm telling you, it's greatness. And when you step into it, it's not only about wellness and health, but it's a 360 transformation. And it's calling in things that you never could imagine. And I'm doing that and I'm seeing where I was broken, where I was messed up and I was helping everybody else. And then when I did the transformation of myself, actually I started to gain weight in a way that I never have. So it's amazing. You know what I mean? And so I honor you in that you see your confidence and stepping into that and letting go of the stories that people told you in order to honor yourself. And I'm with you on that page. As far as men are concerned, because I think men and women can, be a part of this conversation. But where do you feel like when you're working with a male client, where do you feel like the insecurities show up? Not for all men, but for the men that you've worked with around their weight.
mm. You know, it I will say this, just to bring my personal side into it, because it's how I met my husband.
Right.
He had gained a lot of weight. He was in sports and he hurt his knee and
Mm,
he gained a lot of weight. And so
mm,
when I met him, he was at his heaviest that he had ever been. And he wore oversized clothes to mask it.
mm,
And um, it's funny because it doesn't present like any of my friends who are women, how they feel about weight. It's just like it's a thing for them. Either it will come off or it won't come off, but they don't tie their happiness to it,
mhm,
or their joy. Like they're still joyful or happy no matter what size they are, but at the same time, they want to work to get it off because it's tied to something else. So when my husband and I first start working together, he was actually one of my first clients. Um, he wanted to dunk again. That was his ultimate goal.
mm, mhm,
So but he was like, "I can't do any lateral movement because of my knee." And he was like, "I think I'm okay with that, but if it's something that we can work on." And I said, "Sure." So his ultimate goal wasn't to lose weight, it was actually, tied around his enjoyment of basketball. And
mm.
so I don't know if that allowed him to dig deeper because within 3 months, he was back on the basketball court playing again.
Wow,
And within
wow.
6 months, he was dunking again. And
Yep,
it's something that I actually look back on and smile like, oh, I did something that I didn't even know at the beginning was capable because I was just entering into my career. Like I
mm,
knew that I had the knowledge to do it, but I didn't know if I could actually apply it because it's, one of your first clients. So you're like, oh, do I actually have the skills to apply all the things that I learned in school? And when he lost the weight, I mean, it just his how he exuded his confidence in such a different way. Um, it was remarkable to see because it came out on the basketball court.
wow.
Um, and over time, he has gained the weight back, and like he can't play basketball anymore. So that joy is taken from him. And so that's why I always say, like, it's bigger to find that why underneath the why,
Yep,
um, because it doesn't present as the weight, it's actually tied to something else. Because
right.
the heavier he is, the harder it is for him to play basketball. Like he actually went back out and tried to play, and I forewarned him, like, "You're not a spring chicken anymore. You haven't been consistently working out. Do you think that's the smartest thing you want to do?" And of course, he hurt himself again. Now, it's something as a wife and a mother you don't want to see, but as the trainer in me, I was like, I told you so." Like
Yep.
it's something we have to listen to. Um, and so it's just I think it's funny how men can embrace their like I just have a whole bunch of male friends that are dads and they're calling it the new dad bod. And I,
That's
and I
cute.
laugh. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what that is. Okay,
Yep.
cool, cool, cool. And introducing these conversations to my friends who are women, just saying like we can embrace our bodies as they are too. Like we don't have to look a certain way to
Exactly.
be happy or to be joyous, but if we want to continue to do something that we love, then we have to look at it at that different point of view. So it's a long-winded answer to say, like, I have noticed two different point of views, and I wish that is one thing that we could see united.
Yep. I
Yeah.
love what you're saying. You're asking somebody to really be in tune with their body. And there's this version of themselves they want to get you, and then there's the reality of what is happening right now. And It's just honoring where we are. And it doesn't mean while honoring so we're not gonna ever feel down or we're not gonna feel whatever that we used to be able to do these things. But if we're saying this is where you are for the time being and this is where you're gonna go. And I
Mhm.
think what's important is that people need to really write down what they want versus what they should have. 'Cause a lot of our
Mhm.
should has, whether we're losing weight or getting back on the basketball court or doing when I work with athletic men, trying to bench press a certain weight, right? Is enmeshed in other people's views of them and where they should be or where they used to be. And I think we have to really sit down and analyze as humans. Am I losing this weight because of me? And what am I willing to do if it's a should for me and not a want? That I should get this weight off because it's just dire for me not to play small anymore. Then we need to sit down and analyze what that is. And when you start to analyze the North Star being the goal and the outcome you want and work backwards, more times out of 10, you're going to fall along the way, but you're not going to fail. You have the
Mhm.
objective in mind, and you're going to consistently work for that. Versus somebody who says, "Yeah, I want to lose weight," and you ask them, "Well, I used to look good in my clothes, and but do you really want it? Because that's what you used to be, and you're looking at pictures. But do you want to get up and do the work?" And so I think that's what I do with my clients is I really sit down and we go over a list and sit down and say, what is it that you want? And then let's get the result. Because if you should have it and you should deserve it, then let's go for it. But if it's just something you want, then I'm going to step back because I can't I can't hold a vision that you don't have for yourself. But I can work through the vision with you in order to give you what you deserve. You know what I mean? So I think
Mhm.
that what you're saying is powerful. And I think that men and women alike have to start to believe that, hey, I had it once and I can have it again.
So how do you bring, their vision to life when you are working with a client?
That's a good question. Well, I'm very selective in who I work with. That's one.
Good.
I,
Very
you
good.
know, it's like a dating process for me, even though it shouldn't be, right?
Yes,
So what I do is,
yes.
um, I ask them what the vision is, and I tell them I'm a tough love coach, meaning I'm a person you're not paying me to baby you or coddle you. That's not if you don't want that. If you want that, you need to go somewhere else. I'm here to give you results. So once I know that it's not long no longer a want, that you're at this place of I'm ready to step into my power. I'm ready to heal the broken pieces. I'm ready to do the work because where I'm standing no longer serves me, then I actually decide to work with you because I hold the vision that you are committed to yourself. You're dedicated to the process. I can't dedicate myself if you're not dedicated when you start. But what I will give you, sometimes we need somebody else's glasses in order to see ourselves correctly. So what I will do is help you through that process of seeing yourself, but I need to know that you want it bad enough. And if you don't want it bad enough, I'm not taking your money because I wasn't here to gather money and make six figures a year. What I was here for is to take the money that you give me and invest it back into you. So once I see that commitment through these conversations and not the weeble wobbling, then we're ready to go. And I hold you there and I hold you to your highest potential. And sometimes I will piss you off because I'm going to get real with you, but I'm also going to love on you in a way that you never have. And so
No.
that's what I, you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
that's the process. Yep.
Yes, I mean, I love all of that, like, you're talking and I'm, like, b grinning from the inside out because a lot of what you said is true, like, especially in the beginning, like, you're not here to coddle, like, I love the tough love approach, so that was
Mhm.
another reason I was so hesitant about coaching is because a lot of it was like, "Oh, that's too, like, sentimental and too soft for me," but then when I found the right school that the line of thinking is you make coaching your own, we just give you the tools to succeed. I'm like, oh, okay. So I can still be me and still give that
Exactly.
tough love. And I love how you hit on coaching is like dating because
Hmm.
that is so real. Like I have so many people who say, "Oh, this client is driving me crazy." And I'm like, "Why don't you break up with that client?" Like
Hmm.
this is it's a partnership. So you
Exactly.
can't give your best if one of the partners is butting heads. And when I came into community space, I was a fitness supervisor, and I would tell my personal trainers that all the time. I would say, listen, if you and a client meet up and you don't feel that connection, let me know, and I will find them somewhere else to be. Because
Right.
yes, they deserve training, but they deserve your all. And if that
Mm.
connection is not fitting, then let's put them somewhere where they can thrive, but you can thrive as a trainer as well. And I wholeheartedly believe that. So I'm so glad you brought that up.
Right, right, and I think it's true. I think sometimes when we're coaching, we believe that coaching means to coach anybody. And in my practice, I believe that we have a duty. I'm a servant leader. I have a duty to serve humanity in a way that fits with the bigger vision, which is to add value to your life so you can add value to our society, as it were. And for me, I know that I'm committed to this process is why I went to school with, so I got certified. That's why I did the work. If I'm going to pay for my education to be the best for you, you're going to pay to pay attention to what I'm going to give you. And so
Mhm.
when you're ready to do that work, it's like a dance. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be soulful. We're going to move together in a way that you never have, but the person has to be ready. And some people are out here, they want money from people and they're barely gonna really give their clients what they want. And both of what I hear us saying is that we work in conjunction. I already told a client just yesterday who wanted to book with me, if you're not ready, and this is what I tell my clients if they're into spirituality, I want you to pray about a decision to work with me. And I don't want you to call me or email me anything until you've talked to God and have sat down with yourself and got real about what you really want. And you can be scared along the way because it's okay. When you're dismantling your whole life and things around you no longer look the way that they usually look, it's okay to be afraid. But you have the ability to face the fear with somebody who's willing to do the work with you. And so one thing about coaches, and for me specifically, I tell my clients, I'm not God. So it doesn't mean just because you want me to give you a result, you're going to get that result. But what I
Mhm.
do is I hold the vision for you to get the result that you want. So don't tell me that you want to lose 10 pounds, right? But then every time we meet, you're not doing your work. You're not doing the work to live in the guidelines that I'm helping you to live in. And I don't mean depriving yourself because that's a different story, but to do the work. And when I see you lackadaisical, don't come to me saying that I didn't do my job. I held a vision for where you are. And so that's what it is. I don't try to play God. I don't try to play that I'm the be all end all. But what I will do is give you my 100%, and you will get 100% the outcome that you deserve.
I think
So,
that's
do you
I
feel
think
that? you know?
yeah, yes, yes. I think that's very powerful, not only for coaches to make sure that they are um, accepting clients that work well with them, but as well as for
Mhm.
clients when they're looking for a coach, that they are
Mhm.
hiring the right individual for them, the one that's going to push them,
Right.
take them out of their comfort zone, but also respect their space and acknowledge their
Exactly.
feelings. Um,
Exactly.
because I just started with a couple of my clients, and they all acknowledged that they were anxious. And I said that
Mm.
that is valid. Like, one, we don't know where we're going to go in these 12 weeks. I don't know. They don't know because it can change. It is a journey. And I said, but as long as you know that we're in this together, then we're going to be okay. And you are going to have different feelings at different times. And we want to acknowledge those feelings. We want to accept those feelings. We want to, um, go through the process, but not linger because our feelings can
Exactly.
also paralyze us and keep us
Oh.
still. And that prevents us from the growth that we need. So it's a two-part series. Like you said, it's a dance.
Mhm.
So we have to think of it as a process and a journey together and finding the right partnership to move forward, because you want to have that person that's going to take you out of your comfort zone. I actually went through a coaching experience through work, and with my career. it was like, I want to do all these things. And then this coach was like, well, if you want to, one of the things is I want to become a motivational speaker. This is the first time that I'm saying it out loud outside of that
Boom.
uh, that
It's
session.
done.
But he was like, "Oh well, then you need to enter Toastmasters," and I was like, "I haven't even heard of Toastmasters. What is that?" So it was like, and then I'm looking up Toastmasters, and I was like, "Oh wait, this is a place where you go speak in front of strangers," and it was like something that was told to me that would take me out of my comfort zone. But if I want that goal, then I have to start taking those steps towards those things. And
Boom.
we're in the middle of a pandemic, so the next best thing is for me to go live on Instagram. It's because I am talking live in front of strangers, that kind of gets me over that fear because I am comfortable talking in front of strangers in a class. I've been doing it for 13 years in group exercise, but outside of that element, I have not done that. So for someone to take you and say, well, this is where you need to go, that is what coaching is about. And finding that person that's not going to throw you in the deep end and say, now swim, but the person that's going to take you maybe right where you can't touch to swim a little bit and
Mm,
then bring you back in, before they let you go into that deep end. It's like building confidence because a lot of people think like it's a process of pushing them so far, but then they can't come back in and they lose that trust. And you want to have that trust during that process because you can create so much trauma and so many other things outside of that if you take them too far too fast.
you're
And so
absolutely
it's
right.
it's an art. It's a I like to look at it as an art where you are, pushing them a little bit but not dragging them at the same time. So
I
I
love
think
that.
it could be so powerful within coaching. So what are some of the things that you benefited from your coaching, from receiving coaching, should I say?
Well, naturally, it's crazy. I'm an introvert on Instagram. So I started my Instagram in September. I typically can speak in front of a school, but when it came to Instagram, I was very intimidated because you see all these people who have been doing it for a while, trying to make sure that my voice is clear, trying to be perfect on camera. And so I was holding myself back because I'm naturally a perfectionist. And so what happens is, if you're anything like me, I procrastinate at times. Or I would, let me go back. I would procrastinate at times because I wanted the product to be perfect. And it was just one day where actually I was with one of my clients that I work with. He's in a professional sports, and he's just like, "You have a gift to speak. You need to get on camera." And I'm like, "I'm supposed to be coaching him. He's telling me to get on camera." And so it was just a work. It started with a workout video, and then it started with an interview. And then I said, you know what? I don't care if I reach one person. It's not about how many people can be my follower. It's about that one person that I can connect with and that I can build a relationship with. And once I started to realize that I'm not going to fit the tribe of the world, but have people come fit what they feel is best for them when they see me, then they can enter my tribe and we can have an interconnection, interconnected relationship. And so it's just saying that if I could save one person, then that's important, whether it's emotional brain training so that they don't binge eat or beat their body up, or have low self-esteem because they don't have that person. And like I said, I'm in the educational field working with teenagers, ninth to 12th grade. I work with kids who have been incarcerated, who have been in foster care, adopted, and kids who are trying to beat the odds. And so when I was working with them, these are things that would come up, and I just owe it to myself to get on there, even if they were to hear the message that will change your life. And so, as I'm actually doing these videos, this is actually my journey for me to look at and track. So I'm talking to myself when I'm talking these videos. So if it helps somebody, great. But it's really for me to track, where am I at? And like you said, I'm throwing myself in the water, not to drown, but to swim and survive the tides that are coming in. And so I want to thrive, and I want to do things that I never expected myself to do in order to take my clients as deeply as they need to be taken. And as a quote, my favorite quote is, "People can only meet us as deeply as we meet ourselves." Because we don't attract who we want, we attract who we are. And so my clients, if I'm going to attract the clients that I feel is best for me to work with, I have to meet them where they are and I have to meet myself deeper. And so that's the work that I do on myself. And that's the
Mhm.
benefit of my coaching experiences.
Well, I will
And so I hope
say
that
your Instagram videos are not only they're it's good content, it's
thank you.
inspirational, and you could not tell that you are an introvert on camera at
I
all.
definitely am. I'd be panicking. I'd be like, all right, God, let's do it. And then I get in there. But I see your videos and I'm just like, man, I'm just like, you're not even finished school, but you're a coach. And I'm like, you're already ahead of the curve. And like something you said about speaking, I definitely want to get into speaking engagements and things of that nature. So I knew that the first place to start would have to be me getting on camera. And so I look forward to our journey, and our helping people to thrive into wellness as a lifestyle and to nourish healthy, whole relationships with themselves and others. Because the best thing you can have is a relationship with yourself that is healthy, whole, and nourished and complete. And to actually stop disowning the places and parts of yourself that help you survive. You know what I mean? And I would say
Mhm.
this: we beat our body up, right? And we talk about how fat it is, how skinny it is, how it didn't work one day, or my knees hurt. But your body was the only thing that didn't abandon you. Literally, when you go to sleep, your heart rate is inches away from death, but it pumps, right? Your blood pumps to your heart to give you the oxygen to live and survive. Your feet carry you to the next destination. And so, as we move forward, we need to actually begin to honor the very vessel that has kept us going and honored us back. And that's how we should begin to look at our body. That's how I look at my body.
I love all of that. That was so like powerful if you like scale back and think of it. Like we undervalue and underappreciate the thing that keeps us moving forward each day. And why are we not loving it to its fullest potential? Because even if something is not working right the next day, if we take care of it, it will heal. Like the human body is so miraculous. Like it could heal. And I've been watching these documentaries where it can heal itself. Like it's the mind that heals the body. And once you have that connection, it we as humans can go so far and do so many things, but that love has to be there. Like it's just like a plant. So I am a first time. This is not my first time I've killed plants in the past. I'm so bad.
Plant killer. No, I'm playing.
But I've actually so I bought one just about a year ago and it's surviving. No less, no thanks to my kids. Like my kids picked at the leaves, and I was like, no, you can't do that to the plant. Like you have to water it, you have to nurture it, you have to love it. Like I actually talked to my plant, and this is the first time I was like, oh my goodness, like I didn't have to throw it away within months of buying it. And I'm like, it's because it's the love that you're giving to the plant. Like you have to give that to yourself. You have to love yourself for yourself to grow, for yourself to nourish, because we are so remarkable as human beings that we can do anything at any time. We just have to believe it within. So a lot of what you said is so so
Yep,
powerful.
you're right. And so I think it's just today that people need to sit down and don't wait for tomorrow because tomorrow's not promised. Get in the mirror, and this is what I do. I get in the mirror every day and I talk to myself. Yeah. And I talk to myself because I follow expert advice in case somebody thinks I'm crazy. But I get in the mirror and I talk to myself and I say, you can do this. You were made for a purpose. You are made to reach people globally. You are made to lift somebody up. You are made to help somebody to lose the weight of their trauma, of their dysfunction, in order to lose the physical weight of their life and to thrive. And so I want people to make peace with their broken pieces, to change the dysfunction and unearth that potential. And I feel the same way with you. And so it's about us going in and saying that we believe in ourselves in order for our clients to believe in themselves as well. And so if there's anybody out there who's beating themselves up today, remember that's not your badge of honor to carry. Something or someone was given too much power in that space and it's taking your power. And it's now the time to step back, not think about whether I'm going to get stronger, but say, you know what, today is the day where I tell myself I'm going to do those push ups. I'm going to go out there and start that, writing that book. I'm going to go out there and eat healthy and thrive and find recipes that actually taste good. It don't taste like crap, right? Because we got to fill things back up. We can't just say, okay, I'm just going to go
Yes.
eat healthy, right? So do your research and do it with passion so that you can get to where you're going. And that's what I would say. So I just appreciate you bringing me on to really talk about this subject of about our identity and how we see our body and our career and our coaching goals. I think it's powerful, and I want more people to get involved in the cause.
Mm, I love all that. Um, I I just I want people to experience this as a journey.
Yeah.
I have this relationship with life that I didn't think would be what it is right now. I thought my life was
Mm,
going to be one where I just went into a career. I worked, I did my hours, I came home, I took care of my family, but it has expanded outside of that where I get to go outside and enjoy just the ground beneath me, the air above me, the
boom.
trees,
Mm,
just taking it time by time and prioritizing what's important to me. And I think some of the people that I've come into contact with to help alter that belief, because my belief was that I had to go to work to provide for my family, where it has shifted to say that work should be as enjoyable, but also it is something that is there, but it's not the most important thing in my life. My family, my
mm,
friends, my own personal well being is more important than punching in and out of a clock to
boom.
provide something for someone else. And
Mm,
I've also altered my belief in career that it should be joyous. I should enjoy the process, the experience. And if that's something that you're not feeling, you're feeling stuck and growth is not there, then what are you wasting your time for? Because there are so many minutes, second, hours in the day where we could just be enjoying the things that are around us instead of living in misery.
mm,
And just taking it that one step, it could be terrifying, but it can also be so powerful and enlightening and brave and bold, and just putting yourself out there in a whole new light
mm,
can just feel like everything. It can feel scary, but it can feel like everything at the same time. And I think that is so important. I have started to identify and lean in the things that are more important to me. And I
wow.
want to bring other people with me to do that same thing.
Ooh.
So thinking of
Did she
life
just
as a
give us a? Did
journey.
she just give it? Did she just give us what we needed, guys? Did she just tell us about ourselves, snatch our wig, and come through? I love it. Yes, and that's the work that we have to do. And I share your sentiments. Is that if you would have told me 5 years ago, even 3 months ago, or a year that I'd be here, I would have told you a line. I was so afraid to step out. I was afraid of what failure might look like if I don't make it. Right? I was afraid that would I be able to ask for what I want and get it, you know? But the thing that helped me was one of my mentors said, as a woman, and not even just as a woman, as an individual, when you leave this earth, you want something with your name on it that you've invested in. There's nobody in this world, if you don't invest in something that you believe in, you're going to succeed at it because there's no investment for your return. And so once I realized that this is something that had my name on it, and that I could work with people and it not be a job, but it be something that is a passion. Like you said, I could step into it, but more importantly, get paid to help people to make peace with themselves, to break the limiting beliefs, to break the habits, to step into the greatest part of them, the story that they've ever seen. you couldn't have told me that I was going to have this chapter in my life. And so it's about walking and not always having the the dots to connect right at first, but the story begins to connect as you walk into your purpose and you do the work on yourself. And I think that's so important for coaches before they even become a coach to do the work on themselves. Not to say that your story is not important,
Mm.
but we wouldn't be
Mhm.
here if we didn't do the work on ourselves. And so
Mhm.
I agree with you that it's time to show up and it's time to believe. And our story is not finished, and yet our client's story is not finished because becoming is an evolution. It's going to be a lifelong journey. What you can leave is a legacy, and a generational breakdown of what healthy looks like. You know,
I
so this
love
was
that.
enjoyable. I love it, and um, you know, I want us to keep connecting. If anybody knows me or doesn't know me, I am at I underscore am becoming underscore LLC. And I don't know if you want to put your information as well, just in case.
Oh, yes.
But
I am on IG at Confident Aaliyah, and that's AALIYAH, and that's where I am on Facebook as well. So yeah, come find us.
yeah, so thank you for inviting me on this journey. And to anybody else, keep encouraged and know that everything that's you're going through is preparing you for what you asked for. And even when you don't ask, you're being prepared for something great. So I'll talk to you guys. We'll both talk to you soon. Hopefully we'll
Yes,
get together and do another
yes,
session. All
I
right.
would love that. All
Sounds
right,
good.
thank you.
No problem.